They started the city here, 1680. They started St. Philip's that same year. Don't get excited about this building, it's not quite that old. The building we're looking at, well, by y'all standards, it's old. It's 1835. It was built here to replace the first building here that was lost that same year in a fire. When you talk about Charleston's history, there's a couple things you can't leave out. One of them, of course, churches. This is the Holy City. And the other one, fire. Now, the original city was about 60 acres. It started here. And this is the oldest public building in both Carolinas. It was built here in 1713 to house the militia's gunpowder. On the north, the first building here was not a church. It was a meeting house. Consequently, the street we're coming up on, Meeting Street. We're not fancy about the names. We could review, in fact, market on market, churches on church, meeting house on meeting. Out in the new colony, the King's Church would be the Carolinas Church. And that was fine. But right after that, somebody else got the bright idea they needed some kind of a draw to lure settlers here to get the colony off the ground. And they start letting them build churches. And today, this very small city. Matted brick, which was made across the river at the Whirlbeck Brickyard on Blue Hill Plantation. They covered the brick with stucco, and then on the front of your house, especially, you want to draw lines in that stucco to make it look like stone. So here we have a beautiful stone house fit for a wealthy person to live in, when in fact it is a brick house disguised because of vanity. We're a city built of brick disguised to look like stone. With beautiful teal blue and white. Have y'all been seeing those doors around the city, incidentally? Yeah. Those crazy doors that look like they go in the house, and then they go absolutely no place? They're everywhere. Here's another one. Well, don't look at this one. It's kind of jacked up. They got at this house before preservation, and they actually enclosed that area behind the door. The next one is pristine, and I will mention, don't spend all your time looking at this house. Make sure you see that beautiful formal garden. Don't paint the buildings light colors because they're pretty. It's because they reflect heat. And that's a Barbados influence. That particular type of house and the pastel color use came from Barbados. There were European settlers there for decades before they came here, and they found ways to beat the heat, and they brought those ideas along as they came this way. Now, as we come along here, we're going to see a really pretty house on the right. The formal gardens coming into view. That is a palmetto tree, and the way you tell from a palm is there's no fronds on the branches coming off the tree. It's like a donkey's tail. This house looks beautiful. I love it. Fits right in, 1700s vintage, except that it was built about 12 years ago to look like it's been there forever. If you find a buildable lot in Charleston, you are required to put something there that looks like what was there originally. In a city with all the disaster we've had, we've lost a lot of stuff. And usually the records in the city somewhere will tell you what was there, and you are required as a new owner to put it back. These are the vintage houses over here on the left. And look at this garden. Now this one's canopied with the crepe myrtle trees. Do y'all know about crepe myrtle trees? The trees that appear to have no bark. If you don't, does everybody know about them on here? No. Okay, if you don't, we'll call that a lilac on steroids. It's interesting to folks. We have 5,000 historic buildings. You're going to count on one hand the number of those buildings that don't cost 7 figures. Everything we're going to see pretty much from here on out. There's some, oh, there's somebody loves you. There's for sale signs on some of them. If I know, I'll give you an idea. This one over here is currently 1.9. Give you a ballpark.
How many square feet?
They vary. They're a lot bigger than they look because they go way back. These are very narrow, deep lots because originally they laid the city out in a way they were accustomed to in Europe. Over there you paid your tax oftentimes based on how much street you took up.
Street frontage.
Frontage. Yep, frontage tax. Or how many windows you had in the front of your house. Crazy stuff. They never taxed that way here in Charleston, but they laid the city out in the way they were accustomed. And the original model, the city they drew out on paper and then put down here, had about 387 narrow, deep lots that they gifted or sold to folks. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Loretta!
Why's those leaves down there?
Oh yeah, she's horrible. This house, a lot of stuff going on. Cornice is carved out of wood over the door and the windows. The iron is cast iron. There's 2 award medallions. Can y'all see them on the front? There's a black circle and a brass rectangle. I'm going to talk about those medallions. I want to mention this house just sold for $2.38. Down in the back you see the carriage house. You can tell by the arched doorways what it used to be, and today they've repurposed it. But you have to keep the features and the relationship to the original building so you can tell how they once went together. There's another one of those black circles. We're going to see a lot of those today. That's a Carolopoulos Award to the left of the door. with the yellow letters.
Oh, yeah.
They're everywhere. There used to be one on that one, but there's one on the one coming up. That is the Carolopolis Award. That's an award of restoration excellence given by preservation when you voluntarily restore your building. We have 3,500 voluntarily restored buildings in the city. 5,000 historic buildings. The rectangular brass marker is an Historic Charleston Foundation Award. That's a mandatory restoration. That foundation started here in 1947, and now we're a city that was impoverished by 4 years of war. Then there was 14 years of Reconstruction. Then there was an earthquake in 1886. Then there was the Depression. The city that was built on wealth was falling down around itself. So there's another one. That foundation started buying up houses in danger of being lost due to damage or neglect. If you see that in front of a house today, we're lucky we have it. They put covenants on the deeds that require the new owners to restore them, and then to draw you into that money pit, they gave you a deal on price. You could buy a foundation house in Charleston in the 1950s for $10,000. We're talking 6, 8, 10,000 square feet. And then today they're all worth more than $1 million. And we've saved 1,000 buildings through that foundations. So when you know what these markers are, you can really appreciate what went into that house. This is Broad Street. It was originally called that because 6 carriages could pass abreast at one time. This was a freeway in 1703. No, it's no subway. So we're going to take a little jog down Broad Street. The next street on the right, New Street, we're not going to have that problem with a couple of houses that only cost like $800,000 or $900,000. Here's another dependency building coming up on the right. It goes to the larger brick house in front of it. No obvious carriage doors. That tells you this was a kitchen house. At one time, there was an ordinance in this city prone to fire that said you had to put the open flame you cooked on out in the back in a brick building to cut down on the danger of burning down your neighborhood. The cross strapping with the bolt coming out and the nut, that's earthquake repair on a dependency building. On your house, you'd have pretty uniform washers like you see up here on the corner of the house. I'll talk about those a little later. Even if I have time, I've only got an hour. I've got 346 years. I try to hit on a little bit of everything, so when you leave me, you're going to go out and about and understand what you're looking at. The city's very orderly. There's a reason for everything in Charleston. Although my friend Jenny says that the reason for anything that happened in Charleston, there's 2 reasons. Because it was hot or because they had money. That's why things got done. And here's a carriage block. That's a brownstone, block of brownstone that would have been used by the lady of this household to help her assist her into the carriages. They should be right there, right off the step at the curb to allow her the least amount of dust and dirt to drag her ham through the mud. New Street. This was new about 125 years ago. It is probably my 2nd favorite street in the city. I love bringing folks out here because, unfortunately, when you come to Charleston, you don't find all of this. You go to the market, you walk around, you have some meals, you go see Rainbow Row, and then you miss 3/4 of the city, and it's all beautiful. The iron on this street is spectacular, probably nicer than most of the large houses down on the water. A little bit of it now covered up with jasmine, but everywhere you look, there's a different type of detail in this stuff. The detail pieces on the top of this were cast iron. Each one was heated, poured into a mold, made individually. And then the plain swirly stuff, the heart shapes, the wire shapes, that's blacksmith wrought iron. And make sure you're looking at these gardens as we go by, leading into the back of these places. The brickwork, the stonework. Higher up off the ground loosely dates them. There's houses out in this street as mid-1800s. But once they got kind of a control of the seawall, started controlling the flooding a little bit, they brought them down a little bit.
Did Hugo hurt these houses then?
Well, let's say this. The highest elevation in the city is 13.5 foot. And the pile surge for Hugo was 19 feet. Most crossed arrows, cast arrows, every single piece of this fence is a separately cast arrow. Hugo did do some wind damage, but it didn't hit Charleston directly. It went up kind of through the Midlands. So our winds were probably only 100 miles an hour versus 140 miles an hour. So it did do damage, but the water did more damage than the wind did. And people who lived here say within 4 or 5 years you didn't even see any signs. The only signs are out on the east side, they call it, up the peninsula, toward the river on the east. And a lot of Hugo houses are still up there boarded up. That was the poorer neighborhoods, old single houses. Not like these single houses, which are perfect. The door on your piazza is called a privacy door. Did just that, kept that space private. So now, aside from catching the breeze, you've got 2 rooms or 3 rooms outside your house where it's cooler, where you can sleep or relax. And as long as the door was closed, that indicated to folks passing by you were using that for private space. If the door was open and you knew who lived there, that was an indicator to come in and visit. There's another foundation over there. These 2 houses are twins, and one of them was almost lost. I just love the fact that it was saved through that foundation. And every house out here has the Carolopolis on it. They're all restored. Sometimes you'll see a laurel underneath that indicates it's been restored more than once. And of course, brownstone, like the carriage block, marble, elaborate stone came in rough cut on the tall ships as ballast, and then they fine-tuned it here and turned it into added details for your house. This is the only brick and stucco house on this particular street, the oldest house on the street. They've got the Carolopolis up there, so you know what all this stuff is. You know what I mean? And we've got some new construction going on. This is being built on a tiny triangle. Part of a historic district. 2 decades ago it wasn't, so look over here. Now look away. That's a lapse in preservation. That's condominium. These are the beautiful single houses on this side. We'll look at these. Gas lamps burning all over the city. I have been told if you burn a gas lamp 24 hours a day, so the city can see that you're doing it, they will give you a stipend towards the gas bill to cover the cost of your lamps. We will not sit with that garbage. We will not see anybody today that needs help with their utility bill. But they tell me that's the deal. Another pretty side garden here, everywhere you look. And the private garden in the back, that would be, ladies, where you'd be expected to go if the mood struck you to lift your skirt up, catch a breeze on your ankle. We don't want to see any ankles out here. We certainly don't want to see any elbows, and we definitely don't want to see any cleavage. Scarlett O'Hara, as it turns out, kind of slutty. As it proved by the end of that book. Gentlemen, like gale force winds, they couldn't put it down. It came roaring down Logan Street in front of us the last day of the fire, and it finally hit a fire break that slowed it enough so they could band together behind it, turn the fire out this way, and it burned itself out in the river to the west. 4 days, more than a mile, 1,000 buildings and 5 churches. Half the city was lost. 8 months into the war, and a fire unrelated to the war. It was an outdoor cooking fire. This is the fire break that saved the buildings I just showed you. St. Pete's Cemetery slowed it down enough for them to save a few buildings behind it. It did not benefit St. Pete's Church. That was over here. It was lost in the fire, and all that remained of it today, the graves, the gates, and the fences. This is another lapse in preservation, built as apartments. Today that's condos as well. Does anybody on here know the difference between a cemetery and a graveyard? There is a difference. Remember the yard. If you have a church and a churchyard, that's a graveyard. Consecrated ground attached to your church. You do need to be baptized in the church to be laid to rest there. If you don't have a church or a cemetery, and they'll take anybody as long as you're dead, usually. A little trouble in Charleston with epidemic. In a very densely built up city, epidemics could kill hundreds very quickly, so very important you get folks buried before they spread the disease, and sadly, proven by evidence in the city records, there were a few people that got put in the ground a little before their time. But that was medical technology's fault. Detect those faint heartbeats and respirations when you were in a coma. Look at that garden. And don't get caught up in the garden, you'll miss that delicate cast iron you're looking for. And the Carolopolis is on there. The date on the upper right, I didn't mention that, 1976 is the date it was awarded to the house. They've been giving those out since 1953. As you come across the street, there's our cathedral, St. John the Baptist. That's our second oldest Catholic church, building number 2, built here in the 1890s. If you look up near the bell tower, do you see how much lighter the brownstone is around those points than it is on the body of the church? Well, that's one of the 5 churches lost in the fire I was talking about back there. And it's one of only 2 that were ever rebuilt. That one and the one with the copper roof we saw first. They didn't start to rebuild this city. Everybody who comes to Charleston, they want to see Rainbow Row. And I recommend you see it, but I don't recommend you see it for the color. The color is all over the city, just like right here. Rainbow Row is the longest row of pre-revolutionary buildings in the United States. I recommend you get down and see it because of that. It's on East Bay Street. They didn't even paint it rainbow colors till the 1930s. It used to be the work at Waterfront, and they were just plain stone appearing in shape. On the left, a hexagonal addition. The rectangular building was built in 1802, almost the 1700s. The hexagonal addition, 30 years later, and look at that building. There's a washer every foot, all the way around it, between every floor. That addition, the strange-shaped addition, originally had 4 stories. The earthquake, in fact, rattled one of those right off. So it was held together now with broad. They were stone buildings with lots of tapestries and rugs and people to wait on you. None of that in there. My friend very seriously, she says, here's the force for that. My friend starts to feel the hair stand up. Kid goes on, she said, etched skulls of ram and sheep. And that's kind of an advertisement because this end of the city market used to be a butcher shop on the first floor. Above the door, you see another advertisement of sorts, Daughters of the Confederacy. Those are the ladies that run what is up there today. Has anybody on here been up there? That's our Confederate Museum. I'm not sure if it's open on Sundays. I don't want to get y'all's hopes up. It may be. Very opinionated about how we do this is why I get her sometimes, because the younger folks don't understand. So I just, yeah, well, she pretty much does what she wants, and I don't have any impact on her at all.